Greetings, greetings, greetings. This is your brother Chief Flying Igara Elohim. Now, I've already shared the last part of this video and the misconception that the Supreme Court and Donald Trump has returned the land back to the indigenous people with the statement that he made as the birthright citizenship was meant for the descendants of slaves. So I'm not even going to get into that because if my people want to think they're slaves from Africa, man, listen, more power to y'all. So let us let us look at the first part of this joint. In fact, we're going to listen to the entire speech and then I'm going to break it down for y'all. All right, let's go.
Well, this was a big one, wasn't it? This was a big decision. An amazing decision, one that we're very happy about. This morning, the Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months, we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century, me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves. And
All right, I'm gonna stop right here. I've already discussed the whole people, lost people thinking that Donald Trump mentioning, the ending of birthright citizenship and babies of slaves, it refers to so-called black people in the United States. Well, like I said before, if y'all are from Africa because you are descendants of slaves from Africa, this is not your original indigenous land. Okay, that's number one. And what's happened, like I said before, with the Muskogee Creek so-called black Indians and the Cherokee that have actually accepted and opened up their doors and reinstated the citizenship of so-called black Indians, they had to do it under one condition. They had to agree to being descendants of slaves, freedmen from Africa, ex-slaves, which literally you agreed to saying that the Native Americans are the original people and you were their slaves from Africa, which wasn't true. But y'all sold y'all souls to the beast. You feel me? So do you. But let us talk about the first part that Trump spoke about. He said it was a big victory. Those are very powerful words. I tell people the way I break things down, you will not find other people doing it that way because I'm making sure it's simple. Even a baby could get it because the ancestors gave me a mind that the people need. You feel me? So with that being said, you got to know law, you got to know legalese, right? I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I'm just saying the way I break it down, you're going to get it. So big, monumental victory. Let me explain something to you. There's three branches of government. Okay, and I'm going to just give you the synopsis of their responsibilities real quick. Okay, you have the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The legislative branch, which is Congress, right, is responsible for making laws. Congress. Why isn't it called progress? So that alone in itself is a problem. But anyway, the executive, the legislative branch is responsible for making laws. The executive branch is led by the president of the corporation, okay, the head of the CEO of the corporation, all right, and the job is to enforce the laws that is literally passed, okay, by or the laws that are made by the legislative branch. Now, the judicial branch is headed by the Supreme Court, which interprets the law. You feel me? So let me break that down one more time. Legislative branch, responsible for making laws. Executive branch, responsible for executing the law. And guess who's the head mancho of that? The president. All right? And then lastly, the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court, which interprets the law. Okay? So when Donald Trump speaks on that big victory that he had, well, and he's talking about it happened nationwide. You see, what was happening was the Supreme Court were literally passing injunctions nationwide, okay, that literally handicapped the powers of the president, because the president isn't supposed to be in a position to run wild and just do what he wants. That's why the Supreme Court was in place, to make sure that he is not rogue. You feel me? So injunctions could have been put in place nationwide to block presidential policies on issues ranging from anything. You feel me? Any type of regulation, whether it's immigration, whether it's environmental, it doesn't matter. You did? So Trump saw that as a victory by the Supreme Court, because now what they did was they severely limit the injunctions, okay, nationwide. So therefore, the president has more power. They have literally increased his executive power. That's what that meant. So as a result, there will be less, okay, judicial oversight, because it reduces judicial oversight. It means that the Supreme Court has less power, because they get literally relinquished some of their power to the president. And people think it's a good thing. So that's why you see the National Guard could be in DC. Remember, he said, okay, he used terms such as the president of the United States. He's talking about the corporation. But like I said before, a lot of people are going to miss the overall implications of what's happening, and that he has every right to do that. And now he could do anything that he wants, and nobody could do anything about it unless the original people of the land step up. I'm not talking about the Native Americans, okay? They are under contract. They are not the original people, and not the so-called black ones who say that they're descendants of slaves from Africa, and now they are part of that corporation under the guise, not the guise, but literally saying that they were the slaves of Native Americans, okay? Indicating that the Native Americans were the original people. The only people that could literally set back laws on the land are we, the original people that is not contracted with the corporation. But like I said before, it has to be a collective. And that's all I'm going to keep saying. Y'all want to be individualized. Y'all want to stay black. Y'all want to stay African American. Y'all want to stay descendants of slaves from Africa, thinking you're going to, get into bed with the devil. Okay, the system. and expect that life is going to be good and great. No. Like I said before, man, it's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people. A lot of people. Everything I've told you before has come to pass. Pay attention. Watch them move because they're playing chess while a lot of you are playing checkers. You feel me? This man is now, he has literally more authority than Congress itself. He's put himself in position to literally, you heard the name of the judges he mentioned? He got them in his pocket, allegedly. Okay? So just watch and watch who the biggest target of this executive branch is going to be. Okay, do you really think this was about immigration? No. Watch so-called black people. Watch them perish. I keep telling y'all, I'm the black identity slayer, and I say it for a reason. Get out of her, my people. Don't leave our ancestral land. That's not what it means. But get out of the beast. You feel me? Get out of Babylon. And I'm going to keep saying that. I keep telling y'all, I know what to do. The ancestors give me specific instructions. All right? But sometimes too late shall be many cry. I'm going to end on that note. My email is always posted and listed. Peace.